What's up, friends? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. You and I both know elixirs are unstoppable. They keep coming. And I feel like we just need to accept it, okay? It's like Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Elixir for the cinephiles out there. Because obviously all the brands in the world, in the universe, got the memo. Every single fragrance line in existence needs an elixir, sometimes two. And since so many new elixir fragrances have already been announced for 2025, I went to you guys and I asked you, what right now do you think is the best elixir out there? What is the top of the top? And this was on the community tab of my YouTube channel. If you want to be featured in a future video, by the way, go ahead and check out the community tab. There's always a question there where you can leave your answer and get featured. But I asked you guys, what do you think the best is? You gave your answers and upvoted others that you agreed with. And now today, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys what you say are the 10 best must-own elixir fragrances as of right now, which I'm sure that's gonna change as time goes on since so many new ones are about to drop this year. All of these are going to be linked in the description below. Feel free to check them out down there. And before we jump into the official top 10, an honorable mention. So this is a fragrance that I saw mentioned a few times as I was scrolling through all of your answers, but I don't actually own it. It's Aaron Terrence Hughes Hard Candy Elixir, which as I understand it, smells kind of similar to Ultramall from Jean Paul Gaultier. But like I said, I haven't smelled it, I don't own it, but I did see it pop up a few times, so I wanted to give it a shout out. All right, number 10. And this one was really close. Really close. So I saw Y Elixir pop up all of a couple times, legitimately just a couple times. But I also saw this one pop up a couple of times as well. And I feel like between the two, this fragrance is way better. And I think that if it had been out for longer, that it would have cracked the top 10. It's Bad Boy Elixir. So the new one from Carolina Herrera. With this one being a brand new release, a whole lot of people out there have not been able to smell it yet. But I do feel confident that if more people had smelled it, that it would have placed easily above Y Elixir. So obviously this is the newest one in the Bad Boy lineup, and it's gonna remind you a little bit of like Bad Boy Extreme, but to me it's way more wearable than Extreme. It has that cacao that you expect from a Bad Boy release, done very well. It's nice, smooth, very sexy, easy to wear. The quality on it actually really good for a Bad Boy type of scent. It has a really pleasant leather note that's in there as the fragrance dries down with a touch of iris as well. Good performance also. Just a really well done scent. It's not redefining the wheel. It's not taking the Bad Boy DNA and making massive changes to it. But in my opinion, it does take that established Bad Boy DNA and improve upon it. Number 9 is the Scent Elixir from Hugo Boss. It didn't get a whole heck of a lot of love as far as how many people were mentioning this one or upvoting this one, but it did have some people that were very ardent followers of the fragrance, you know, really pushing for it. And it's one that my wife actually absolutely loves. She's a huge fan of the Scent Elixir, but I think that a lot of the scent releases, you know, they're for like a more particular crowd a lot of the time. Like people that love them, absolutely love them. But as far as, you know, sales numbers and things like that, not quite as many of these bottles get sold compared to a lot of the other ones. That can be a good thing though, because that means it does help you stand out a little bit when you're wearing the Scent Elixir or something like the Scent Magnetic, which this one smells a bit similar to. In terms of note breakdown, pretty simple. It's got like red pepper in there, lavender and woods, specifically sandalwood. It's clean, sweet, a little bit spicy, pretty easy to wear. Another one that's a good compliment puller. I understand why it doesn't have quite as much hype as some of the other ones that got ranked higher than this one, but I think it's a great release. Then in number 8 is another Bad Boy, Cobalt Elixir. And I feel like that as time goes on, that these will probably swap in terms of Bad Boy Elixir and Cobalt Elixir. Not that there's anything wrong with Cobalt Elixir, it's just I think this one is probably a little easier to wear for people in general. And when it comes to Cobalt Elixir, a lot of people actually like Cobalt more than the Elixir version. That being said, it doesn't smell bad. It does have a note of truffle in here, which is really interesting, a little bit unique. Has a good dose of vanilla as well. It's also got black pepper, sage, woods and olibanum as well. It has solid performance. It does smell like an ELIXIR version, for what it's worth, of cobalt. So they're kind of keeping that theme going. They're consistent, at least in terms of Carolina Herrera, with how they're approaching the ELIXIR releases. Take the established DNA, make it a little bit deeper, a little richer, smoother. But with the original cobalt being a little bit fresher than this one, some people will find that one easier to pull off because this one has a little more of a lean toward the slightly earthy side of things. Still, I feel like this is really well done, very appealing. I like the vanilla that's in here. It's a good release. Number 7 is 1 Million ELIXIR from Paco Rabanne. And with this, everyone would expect it to be an absolute sweet bomb. And kind of sort of is. So you got a lot of vanilla in here, tonka, apple, but also rose, a little bit of cedar osmanthus and patchouli as well, kind of rounding everything off. So it's not just sweet, but that is gonna be a really major part of the fragrance from the opening into the dry down. But I will tell you, that is a fragrance that grows on you. It's a fragrance that in the air, I mean, right up close, you would think it's too much. It's like too sugary, too saccharine sweet. You know, it's gonna give you diabetes. But in the air, it's got a nice balance to it, and it does come across much more appealing. So yeah, don't write this one off right away, even if you're not a big fan of sweet fragrances. That one can work really, really well. Before we hop to the next fragrance, guys, here are some codes you can use to save money across different websites. See them? There they are. Okay, cool, let's keep it moving. Next up is Gucci Guilty ELIXIR. And this one, quite different from everything else that's come before it. It's not as sweet as really any of these over here. It's based around orange blossom. There is vanilla in here, but it's not like, you know, sugary, syrupy sweet. Great quality, really, really standout quality. Very good performance. A little similar to Amouage Reflection Man with a little bit of Pegasus from Parfums de Marly sprinkled in there for good measure. Kind of like a blend of those two to an extent. There's a very pleasant iris note in there that kind of lurks in the background and just provides nice body and depth to the scent. Really about a year-round fragrance, I feel like. Maybe more for spring, fall, but I think you can wear that just about any time you want, daytime, nighttime, doesn't matter. Easily could wear that to the office, more formal occasions if you wanted to. Doesn't really smell like any other Gucci Guilty fragrance to me. Like I said, it's more similar to two different niche fragrances than anything. So really well done one by Gucci, and one that has grown on me since it first came out. Number 5 is one that I was actually really surprised to see how much love it got. I didn't expect it. I actually expected this to be closer toward the bottom of the top 10, not because I feel like that's where it deserves to be, you know, like get down there, peasant. I didn't think that. It's just, I was surprised to see how many people came out to bat for this one, and it's Ralph's Club ELIXIR. And I feel like this is the case of a fragrance that a lot of people, maybe when it very first dropped, were like, Ralph's Club plus ELIXIR, I don't know, you know, just kind of like lackadaisical on it. Not that they were necessarily immediately writing it off, but there wasn't that like groundswell of people just clamoring to immediately go check it out. Because you know how that happens. Sometimes a new big release comes out and everybody and their mom and their mom's mom is out there trying to be like first day checking it out. That's not what happened with this one. It was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. But then as time has gone on, and people have been able to go check it out, they've been able to wear it, been able to, you know, purchase it, they've really come around to liking it. And it makes sense why. It's a very well done, easily wearable, versatile fragrance that has iris right up there toward the front, but the iris isn't overly makeup-y, lipsticky, creamy, heavy. Instead, it's fresher, but with a lot going on, and giving it a nice, interesting wear from opening into dry down. So along with that iris, it also has cardamom, grapefruit, a little mandarin orange, sage, lavender, geranium. Then as it hits the dry down, you've got leather, olibanum, patchouli, and also a little bit of fir balsam. Still getting over the pneumonia. I'm sorry, my lungs are trying to close up on me. I mean, I feel good. I just can't breathe. Enough of that whining though. It smells really, really good. It's this great balance of wearable and fresh and clean, while at the same time having some deeper aspects to the fragrance that kind of give it life. So you have this juxtaposition at times of like, you know, it's pulling this way and then pulling this way at the same time, and it just works. So Ralph's Club ELIXIR getting some love, and I feel like it's warranted. Good, good, good stuff. Now we're into the top 4, and I'll tell you guys, the top 4, there's a gap, okay? So here's kind of how it shook out, basically. It was like these 2, a gap, and then these 2, a gap, and then these 2, and then the top 4. I know it seems kind of funny, like lumping it into like 2, 2, 2, but that's kind of how it went. Like I could tell immediately what the top 4 were gonna be. So they were like in their own echelon, easily the top 4 right away. And then these 2 were sneaky good. And then after that, it was like, these got mentioned some, not a whole heck of a lot, but some. And then these, like a few. Anyway, number 4, bottled elixir. And I will say that multiple people said Boss Bottled Elixir, but if Boss Bottled Absolute had the name Elixir in it, I would choose that one instead. So the consensus is that Boss Bottled Elixir is one of the best elixirs, but Boss Bottled Absolute, a lot of people say, is better than Elixir. And I know some people like Elixir more than Absolute. I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying it was mentioned. That's all I'm saying. Interestingly enough, Boss Bottled Triumph Elixir, really nobody cared. Everybody kind of forgot that one exists. They were like, no, the normal elixir, that's the bottled elixir, right? There's another one? Oh yeah, I remember that. This is really good though. Really, really, really good. Woody, spicy, masculine, like classically masculine. Great bang for your buck, nice performance. Fall, winter standout. And one of the bottles that I have actually put a dent into, which is saying something because I kind of have too many bottles. That's like a positive way of saying that. Too many bottles. Doesn't have too much of a negative connotation, like hoarder. That sounds rough. But this stuff, man, stuff is great. Absolutely, absolutely love this. For me, my hamster wheel in here, my little hamster goblin wheel, Boss Bottled Elixir kind of reawakened my interest in the Boss Bottled line. Right or wrong, but for a while, Hugo Boss kept putting out Boss Bottled flankers year after year, multiple flankers every year. And some of them were good. Some of them were good, but none of them were like, this is a must own. And so what ended up happening was it became something where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like here comes another one. Maybe it'll be all right. But I started to get bored of the bottles. And then this came out and it was like, oh, you got my attention. Please give me more. And then they hit me with Bottled Absolute last year and it was like, it's on. All right, top 3, number 3, Victory Elixir, Invictus Victory Elixir, which is another personal favorite of mine. Really, really love this stuff, man. The way the vanilla hits, that's worth a lung seizure right there. Sparkly sweet vanilla just grabs everyone's attention. Great performance, one of the best for fall and winter in my opinion over the last few years. So along with that vanilla, there's also lavender, cardamom, black pepper, incense, patchouli, and tonka. It's a little bit like an amalgamation of a bunch of different fragrances put together, almost like you took the idea of what Pure XS or Pure XS Night used to be from Paco Rabanne and evolved it into this. So you can find bits and pieces of Bad Boy in here, Bad Boy Extreme, 1 Million Elixir, Le Beau Le Parfum. You can find a lot of different pieces of other fragrances in Invictus Victory Elixir, but none of those fragrances are Invictus Victory Elixir or smell how this one does. I love it. Now you had to know what the top 2 were gonna be. It just has to be what it is. It's like when you ask Elixir, if you're asking 1,000 people, then you know which ones are gonna be there at the top. The question is, which one is 2 and which one is 1? And the way it shook out this time was number 2, Sauvage Elixir. For me, I don't know. I think you catch me on one day, maybe I put Sauvage Elixir here at 2, maybe another day I put it at 1. It is the fragrance that really kicked off the Elixir rush in a huge way. Now, some people did point out, which is true, that there's a Azzaro Pour Homme Elixir. Comes in a little Azzaro Pour Homme bottle, done up in red, very nice. But that one came out quite a while ago. And I think it's probably safe to say that that one was not the one that kicked off the Elixir rush, but it did stake a claim to that name a long time before Sauvage Elixir was ever a thought in anybody's mind. Good job, Azzaro. Back to Sauvage Elixir. And by the way, I'll tell you what we need before we keep going here. Drakkar Noir Elixir. Make it happen, Guy Laroche. Okay, now for real, back to Sauvage Elixir. This one is a monster. Performance, amazing. For me, lasts forever, projects heavily, easily gets you noticed. Fall, winter time, beast. It's another one not super far removed from what bottled ELIXIR over here is doing, in the sense that it's a woody, spicy, powerhouse masculine fragrance with a little bit of an inspiration taken from scents of the past, like my buddy Drakkar Noir back here. Sauvage ELIXIR, for a lot of people, is still the best ELIXIR, and I wouldn't argue that a bit. But the hype beast of the day is Le Male ELIXIR, which is what is in first place. And they're coming out with a new one, a new Le Male ELIXIR, but this one is Absolute. So we'll see how that one is when it's finally available. By the way, since we're talking Jean Paul Gaultier, let me quickly complain. Jean Paul Gaultier, fix your website. All the time they have fragrances like the new Le Beau Flower Edition, where it's like buy now. When you try to buy it, it errors out every single time. Then you contact their support and they don't do nothing. Fix it. Okay, back to the fragrance. Le Male ELIXIR is fantastic. It is really, really, really good. In terms of notes, it's got vanilla, good amount of it. Also honey, lavender, and mint. Those two notes, lavender and mint, gonna tie it in with the original Le Male. Also benzoin, tonka, and tobacco. So it's very rich, deep, sweet. Like I said, vaguely reminiscent of bits and pieces of the original in there. A fall, winter time stunner. A great date night fragrance, evening fragrance in general. It's another one that I've put a pretty hefty dent in. And if you were gonna knock it, you could say, yeah, but it's really just kind of an evolution of Le Male Parfum that came out before it, which I think is true, but for me, it improved on Le Male Parfum a little bit. And if something is an improvement for me and I like it more, then I'm not gonna hate on it. So Le Male ELIXIR, your guys' #1. So as we stand here today at the beginning of 2025, these are the 10 elixirs that you guys like the most. As we head through this year and many new elixirs get released, I'm sure some of these will fall off and be replaced by new ones. The circle of life. I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me. Thank you everybody who upvoted other people's fragrance choices or left their own. Stay safe out there, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.